Good afternoon, everyone. I think we can get underway. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Lanny McInnes. I'm President and CEO of the Manitoba Home Builders Association. And on behalf of our event sponsors, the Accurate Technology Group and Federated Insurance, welcome to the 6th session of the MHBA's Virtual Housing Forum. Once again, thank you all for attending. We're now going to kick off today's session with a quick introduction of today's speakers, Paul and Faramir, by our event sponsor.
Hi everyone, how are you? I hope everyone's happy and healthy. My name is Randy Sladden. I'm from Federated Insurance and we're your sponsor for today's webinar. It's my pleasure to introduce Paul Provo and Faramir Hakamzada of 6P Marketing. Paul is the founder and president of 6P Marketing. He has 20 years experience in the business for non-for-profit marketing initiatives. He has spent the last 17 years in leadership positions in progressive advertising agencies in Alberta and Manitoba. He's founded 6P Marketing in 2007. Faramir is 6P's senior brand strategist. She holds 2 master's degrees in international business and marketing management, with experience of working in Europe, Middle East, and India before moving to Canada. Faramir's extensive, diverse experience helps to create her meaningful, impactful strategies to help companies overcome the issues behind branding and communications using marketing research. Have a good webinar, everyone. Take care.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on marketing in the new norm. I'm Paul Provo. Our world has substantially changed. Over the last number of months, we've been working with a number of clients on impacts related to COVID. Things like crisis communications related to COVID-affected workplaces for either employees or for the media related. Customer service related communications related to COVID, ensuring clients were apprised on company status and policies. For some businesses, this is very important. Media and tactical changes. Over the last number of months, we've seen a variety of loads on traffic with regards to cars and the impact on billboard advertising as just one simple example, as well as advertising and messaging changes. Companies are shifting the key messages to acknowledge this crisis that we now find ourselves within. As a function of this work, we set about gathering thoughts and insights learned and observed, and furthermore did additional online research on changing consumer habits. That is the background to the presentation. It's intended to get you thinking a little bit about the world that is changing around us, both for our customers and our companies, and understanding better what we can do to shift or pivot, as you will, the business and the services that we're providing. A part of our research included a survey of business leaders held a few months back. That information has been further validated through recent surveys with other webinars that we've held. A few of those observations are included in this presentation. You're welcome to take notes, but know that if you'd like a copy of the survey results or have questions related to the topic, you're welcome to ask us at any time. On the administrative side, you'll notice at the bottom of your window, there's a chat window as well as a Q&A. You're welcome to fill those out at any time. As well, we'll be taking a couple polls through the presentation to make sure that you have the opportunity to feed into the questions that we have here. So without further ado, I'd like to present or show Faramir, who will take the presentation, and I'll be chiming in on a couple points. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Paul. Okay, so I hope that you can see me and hear me fine. I'm going to take you through this presentation. We're going to start from we are here and then move to how are we coping with the new norm. These are basically the 3 topics we're going to discuss. How has the consumer behavior changed due to the pandemic, and how can you adjust your marketing efforts to succeed? Okay, so I mean, it's very weird to say that it's been 8 months into the pandemic era. The pandemic hit Winnipeg in Manitoba in March last year. And a lot has changed since. Marketing was not an exception. We're going to take you through some of the findings that we had. During this time, we have been hearing questions from our own clients, housing sector included, and the construction sector included as well. How has the pandemic influenced the public's receptivity to marketing messages? Is this the right time to invest my marketing and advertising dollars? How does my organization marketing efforts during the pandemic affect my business overall success? And what can I do to maximize the result of my marketing and advertising efforts during the pandemic period? We're trying to answer a few of these questions during this presentation. So first of all, how are we coping with the new norm? I want to start by asking you the same question. I'm going to run this poll right here. Okay, you should be seeing the poll right now. There's one question on it. Which of the following are true about your business since the start of the pandemic? Choose all options applicable to you. So you can choose any of those options. We're going to wait and hear from everyone. Which of the following are true about your business since the start of the pandemic? And you can choose all the options that are applicable to you. I'm seeing 66%. Okay, I'm going to give it a few more seconds before I show what you have voted. About 70% of you have already voted. Okay, so here are your answers. Thankfully, the result that is most often answered is we were worried, but we're thankfully not hit as hard as we anticipated. You also mentioned that you had to go through changes, but nothing too concerning, and that you have successfully controlled the effect of the pandemic early on. This is all great news, of course. We also asked a series of questions from 56 businesses in Winnipeg, and this was in mid-July. Why is mid-July information still interesting? Because it was really at the peak of the matter in July, and the first wave was already over, pretty much, and the effects of it was really showing. Of course, a lot has changed, a lot has been done since then, and we have just recently gone through a new break and really locked down. So we'll see how things have changed from now on. But let's look at the results from the survey we had back then. Generally, again, overall impact was that many mentioned that they fared better than anticipated, just like what you have answered. And of course, we know that the housing industry and the construction sector has been really faring well, thankfully. We also heard that they have experienced manageable changes and they have been successfully managing the effects of the pandemic early on. So it was just great to see all three top answers are positive. And of course, there were many people who were still worried or were really experiencing hardships in their businesses. We also asked them about the impact on their revenue. At that time, 77% mentioned that they have experienced decrease in their revenues. And also in terms of staffing, we asked them, how are you faring with their staff? 52% mentioned that they have been continuing operation with more or less the same amount, and 43% said that they had laid off staff. We also asked about remote working. 39% mentioned that they have more employees working remotely than before the pandemic. And 57 mentioned that they have the same number of staff working remotely than before. We asked them about their recovery status. We asked them where you are in the process of recovery. And again, this was July. And it was, again, a positive result to see that our participants mentioned that they've already feeling like they have passed the worst and they are moving back to the normal. We asked them, have they adopted their marketing in response to COVID-19? 54% mentioned they have. And we asked them about their marketing budget during the pandemic. Again, 50% mentioned that they have maintained a similar marketing budget. Some has decreased, some has paused their marketing budget altogether, and some are very unsure about what they need to be doing. And thankfully, again, 52% mentioned that they are foreseeing new marketing opportunities in Winnipeg as a result of COVID. And that really is what we are seeing as well. And we wanted to share those information with you during this presentation as well. So this was what we heard from businesses in Winnipeg in July. Now, what's 6B been doing during this time? How have we been trying to adapt to COVID-19? We had an option that was announced for the staff to work remotely very early on in second week of March. But by April, everyone was set up remotely and working outside the office. We were back in the office by June, of course, with limited number of employees and social distance and lots of COVID-19 protocols in place, like masks and, all the cleaning that's going on in the office. Now we're again closed. Our offices are no longer open. Staff are back to working remotely since the last announcement and the lockdown for Winnipeg. And overall workload has been below normal levels for this compared to last year. This time, we have been seeing some slow normalization in that sense. So during this time, we have been focusing on key components for, ourselves and for our clients to make sure that we are, spending this time and really getting ready and adapting to it. So we've worked with our clients to adjust their marketing efforts to fit their new needs. We know a lot has changed in so many people's worlds and also in many business operationally. And also, we've been helping our clients making and building their marketing foundations like websites, strategies, planning for campaigns. This is a good time generally to spend some time doing these because it's really not generally a busy time for so many of them. Some of the examples of it I'm going to show you. We launched 20 new website launches since the start of the pandemic, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. We really had the chance to launch a few of these. This was Cunningham Business Interiors website. They really have come so far with their brand and their new visuals on their website. It's really now showing the caliber of that business much better than before, as well as CCA, Commercial Credit Adjusters. CCA came to us because they felt there is a discrepancy between their brand's personality and their visual expression of the brand. So we work with them to build their brand personality to really mimic how they are as a business and how they deal with their clients and consumers. And it was a really rewarding process. And our own website was a big project we started at the beginning of the COVID just because we had the extra time. It was 400 hours of work that was put into this website. It's always very hard for a marketing business to build their own website, of course. It's going to be, changed during the time and the work in progress. Now, one of the things that we are looking at in the news is the dive in employment levels. So we had a big dive really in the first lockdown in March and April, but it was very positive news for me personally to see that we are bouncing back in terms of these numbers. Before the October orange zone, basically, and the announcement, we were very close to where we were before the start of the pandemic, and that was just really good to see. This chart is showing, these are all information from Statistics Canada. This chart is showing Canadian numbers in unemployment rate versus Manitoba. And also you can see the difference of male and female. Again, you know, numbers are one thing, and what people are experiencing, of course, is still a lot of hardships are happening around us, but it's good to see that we are, in terms of employment, moving towards the positive. And Canadian housing market bounced back very strongly, really. So this is, of course, from CREA. This chart really shows what a big dive we had at the beginning of this year when the pandemic started, and then the bounce back that was really, really, really fast and sharp, which is great. We have been hearing news of, you know, better than normal sales numbers and really the sector booming, which is always great to see. There are many reasons for this. Also, average residential price change. We're seeing in this chart that in certain areas, the price of, you know, residential places and houses have increased, and that's again, you know, showing that there is confidence in Canada's real estate market, and Canadians are really, again, starting to go back to the norms of doing their purchases, and it is moving forward. Now, this is a chart about economic outlook. It's a bit, it's from a few months ago, but I would like Paul to tell you more about this one.
Hi there. Yeah, this chart here I found a number of months ago, but it was really quite helpful to understand the different waves. So that at the top of the chart, you'll see that orange bar, and on the right, you'll see the white bar. And so wave one, which would have been March through June of earlier this year. And then wave two is September through what we're going through now. But at the bottom, you'll see a separate graph showing GDP. And so GDP dropped dramatically in that period of March through June. And what was really instrumental for me was to understand that over the summer, things would normalize, and that in the second wave, we wouldn't see the same drop in GDP, and that in fact, there'd be an improvement in GDP overall, sort of a sort of normalizing of what we had already lost, and not necessarily recovered, but at the same time, not the same impact on the second wave with the economy. So I've been obviously very mindful and monitoring this very carefully through both our business and the economy through different sources, and it's largely lived true. Obviously, as each day and each week go by, things are coming closer to fruition, but this had a big effect on my sort of how the business runs factor, and it gave me a lot of confidence in terms of what the future held. And so that's what this graph really showed me a number of months ago, and it's still to a degree held true. So that's what I want to share on there.
Thank you, Paul. Moving on, let's talk about how has the consumer behavior changed due to this pandemic. So there's a lot of information out there. Accenture is mentioning that some of the changes in consumer behavior are permanent and they're staying with us. One of them is our ever-increasing focus on health. This has been a trend for a while, but health strategy is a component that many businesses have been looking at and have been trying to focus on. If your business have an angle to be able to get on board with this wave, it's very helpful to think about it and see if there's opportunities for you and your brand on that. as well as a rise in conscious consumption. So again, we have been seeing this for a while. The people are striving to limit food waste and shop with more more cost consciously, buy more sustainable options. There is a general wave towards sustainability and trying to be conscious of our purchases and our consumptions. Again, many of the businesses have been able to get on this wave and making sure that they are moving with this trend. This is a trend that's going to stay with us, and COVID-19 did boost it quite much since the beginning of the pandemic. And this one I'm very personally excited about is growing love for local providers of services, products who have been local or really trying to build that portion of their brand or that aspect of their brands in terms of being local and really from the same area that their customers are. This is really, again, a trend that's been increasing and that's been very much rallied around, and a great tool for you if your business has an option to think more in that sense. And of course, in construction there are many opportunities that way, and most of you are working locally, but it's always very comforting to see that we are, as a nation, I guess, being more and more supportive of our local providers. Forbes is also reporting massive shifts in consumer behavior post-COVID-19. Some of the things they're mentioning is that they're seeing customers prioritizing trusted relationships, just prioritizing it over the other criteria that they often use to choose their providers, their service providers, their product providers, and else. This chart shows February 2009, so a long while ago, February 2020, and June 2020 information. And it's very interesting to see how trusting relationship as a top priority for customers is way above the rest of the those factors when people are making their decisions about their purchases or about the people that they're going to be working with. So it's no longer a game of price. It's no longer a game of excellent service or superior product quality, but really that trusted relationship becomes more important for people during this time of uncertainty. We have all been much more open to online and digital offerings and experiences. Many of the people who have not in the past purchased their products online are now doing that. Many of the businesses who have not been endorsing online and digital ways of providing their services are now doing that more. In the construction industry, just trying to do things more online has been really a big trend, and it has been working, and many businesses are getting on board with all of the technology components to this. And of course, social media has become a much more important brand building tool since the start of the COVID-19. There has been a debate for many years by different marketing experts about the importance of social media in building brands, not just promoting, but building the brands. And really, COVID-19 settled this whole debate. Now there are so many businesses that are trying to use social media to build their brands and really look part with the services that they have in their social media platforms. We have also seen a shift in media consumption. Social media consumption has gone up. Cable news and over the top viewership has gone up. Over the top is, all of the viewerships that are not cable, basically Netflix and all of the other providers. Audio and podcast consumption has also gone up. And we have seen this really increase rapidly. There are different content preferences as well. Not all of the contents are being as popular as each other. For example, especially during the summertime when everyone was waiting for sport content, we didn't really have a lot of consumption on that topic because so many of the games were canceled and the teams were not playing. Also, during the summer, we saw a bit of a decrease in content consumption in media as when it came to garden, outdoor, fashion, and home, which was surprising. This, of course, has changed and will change. We are keeping an eye on all the changes of media consumption throughout different platforms and on different contents. It's really a moving target. Very early on in the process of really adapting to COVID-19 situation, results of research were showing that many of the purchasers out there are still making decisions about the purchases they want to do, even if they are not doing it basically. So you go through a process, of course, to make a decision to purchase. Start by recognizing your problem, searching the information, looking at your alternatives, making your decision, and then whatever that happens after that, after your purchase. And it was very interesting that in April, when everyone was thinking no one is going to be thinking about buying stuff, 51% of the respondents of a survey that was Canada-wide mentioned that they have already started thinking about what they want to buy once they go back to things go back to normal. I think we saw this really show with the construction sector again. We have seen purchases and house sales going up. So that really shows that people were deciding to make this move and make the purchase. Now, how can you adjust your marketing efforts to succeed to all of these changes? I'm going to run another poll. This one has 2 questions. Question 1 asks, how has your marketing and advertising budget changed since the start of the pandemic? Has it increased, decreased, or maintained around the same level? And the next question is asking about your marketing and advertising content. So messages, visuals, tactics, mediums, offers, any advertising and marketing effort you've been doing. Have you changed that, or is it still the same? And what is the level of change really? Is it completely changed or is it slightly changed? So there are the 3 options there. So we're looking for answers to 2 questions. You're choosing one option for each of those questions. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to share the results now. So majority of you answered that you have maintained your marketing and advertising budget around the same level as usual. And also majority of you mentioned that you have slightly changed your marketing content since the start of the pandemic. We also had a few mentioned that they have not changed it at all, and a few that have mentioned they have completely changed it. Okay, moving on. Now, again, a question that we've been asked is this the right time to spend your marketing dollars? I have 3 reasons to share with you that is really answering to the question why investing in your marketing is a good idea during this pandemic. Number 1 reason is cost of share has been falling during the pandemic. So what do we mean by cost of share of voice? What do we mean by share of voice? Share of voice is a percentage of your presence in the market compared to your competitors. And also it is very much dependent on your power of, buy as well, right? So media expenses and media costs has been falling during this pandemic. We've seen it all around. It does change, but as far as we are looking at numbers, it is significantly less than the years before. The prices are lower. You can get good prices. It depends on so many things, but there are opportunities out there to purchase media with the budget that you had, maybe more media with the budget that you had always before. And there is also, because of the uncertainty of the time, there are some competitors that are no longer spending their marketing budget. So that does allow you to have a bigger share of voice in the market while you're not spending more money. And a difference between this pandemic with all the recessions before that we saw was that in this pandemic, we had homebound consumers, meaning we knew exactly where our consumers are and how we can reach them. We saw their usage of certain media increase. This is a chart, basically a visual from Chorus, and this is showing the first wave, and it's showing how media usage was increased and ad spending was decreased in the first wave, and how that allowed a larger audience in the ad environment consumption and with less ad clutter. So there was a lot of opportunity for people to be shown, to be seen. And this has been really gradually returning to normal, but still happening in the market. The second wave is, of course, going to be changing some stuff. We're going to see how the new lockdown will change the Winnipeg market in this sense. But as Paul was mentioning, it's very likely that we will still have a gradual return to normal. However, there will be some changes, and we'll keep an eye on those. And as I mentioned, decision makers have been deciding about their next purchases. So with these 3, let me show you the 3 of them again. With these 3 reasons, we see that there is an opportunity out there for your marketing dollars to really get the worth of what you want. And of course, we're a bit biased on that topic. Will your previous marketing content and plans still work? To answer to that question, we have been asking 2 different questions from others. Is your audience where they used to be? And we're really thinking physically in this question. Now, what do I mean by that? We have been trying to moving very fast and adapt to the changes for our clients, and negotiating adjustments on their previously signed media contracts during the pandemic. We started very early on this process. We had to work with our media partners to make sure that all of the changes that has happened in the market and in the media consumption is not affecting our clients. An example of that was early on, Manitoba Pork had an outdoor campaign that was losing its effectiveness because of the lockdown and because no one was out and no one was really in the streets. So we worked with our media partners to negotiate a prolonged time for this campaign to make sure that our client is receiving what they paid for. Also, all through the past few months in planning media for our clients, we've been making sure that we are, changing and being ready to change if another wave shows up, there's a plan A and B in most of our media plans putting forward. If a lockdown happens, if the lockdown does not happen, and that really, again, allows us to make sure that our clients have the option to be where their clients are. For example, in the springtime, of course, so many of the campaigns were built around CFL, and that was not going to work because CFL got canceled. So we had to make sure that we're adopting the new media plans and making sure that we are where the consumers were, which were in and around the news components and the science components and content online. And the next question would be, has their needs, I mean, your audience's needs and attitudes towards your product and service changed due to the pandemic? So this is probably something that the construction sector has been dealing with as well. We have tried to help our clients develop communication tactics that are mitigating their audience's new needs and expectations. A lot has been changed. Again, your audiences are feeling the change as well. So they may not be, they will, for example, no longer be comfortable with visits, in-person visits. So how can we change our communication to make sure that we are helping them? Operations has changed as well. One of the projects we completed was for Moray Collision and Glass and East Side Collision. They're both part of the East Side group. We worked with them on a Facebook campaign that was around the introduction of their new products or service that they were now communicating or marketing, and that was sanitization of cars and trucks. So building that campaign and making sure that they're making those communications clear, because they had to really pivot and do the things that their clients were asking for and be there for them. Also, we have been repurposing marketing budgets for our clients, for ourselves as well, to produce branded masks for our staff and clients. So this is, again, a good opportunity for many to have their brand show front and center. And it is really both a show and a support of the regulations that are new, and also a tool that so many of our clients are using. And to be a bit more critical about the situation that we are in right now, we have also been looking at crisis management strategies when it, related to communication for our clients to avoid loss of their clients' trust. We have dealt with a few of these situations for our clients. Of course, I can't share the information on those, but really, when it comes to the campaigns that are out, if the visuals are, showing social distancing right, or are really clear in terms of the message that they're sending that is related to this time, sometimes misconceptions and miscommunications happen. So we were just making sure that we are aware of the crisis before it happens and being able to avert it. When it comes to the visual, your advertising or your marketing components are going to be using, this could be your advertisements or your websites or your social media posts. We are seeing since the start of the pandemic that creative based on right brain thinking is performing better than the ones on left brain thinking. So what do we mean by that? Really, when it comes to the brain, right brain and left brain are, have different roles in our brain. Left brain is the analytical, numerical part. It's really the explicit part, the part that is in charge of numbers and understands explicitness, when the right part of the brain is the part that understands broadness, understands, for example, body gesture, or understands people and feelings and emotional components. So what we have been seeing, and this is a research from Orlando Wood, is showing that since the start of the pandemic, consumers have a lot more or better capacity for right brain based creative. So ads that are showing connection to other people, to places, to the past are resonating much better than ads that are focusing on things or are a bit aggressive or competitive in nature or does not have that component or people component. This chart here shows that shows some examples of what's connecting and what's not connecting. For example, hard sell is more a left brain component versus, character fluent devices in advertisements or in imagery, and also scenarios in imagery or references to the past, nostalgic communications or connections to local. These are right brain components. Also, if your ad or the visual that you are sharing or you're using for your marketing is more relying on words or written versus people and conversations and music, you might discuss or consider changing it to make it more right brain oriented. Another good marketing effort you can have or you can set up in this time is telling your COVID story. This is not just an announcement of what has happened to your business, but is actually a marketing tool for you. So if your business have been taking steps to reform or change anything, it's a story that you want to share. These are surveys done with Canadian consumers earlier at the start of the pandemic when everything was very uncertain, and still many mentioned that they would like to see special messages about how consumers can access products during this time and what has changed in companies. They also mentioned that they would like to see what companies are doing in response to the crisis and appreciate to just know more about those components. So this would, bring you more into their mind and make them understand you better. As well, so many marketing experts are predicting that how you would respond or your brand would respond to the pandemic is going to influence your current and future sales. So it's very important. It seems to be really a critical situation in everyone's mind to see how everyone else is dealing, especially brands, and because they can be ambassadors of different components of this whole process that we are in. So many of the brands are looking for opportunities to create goodwill through acts of humanity and generosity, and building initiatives around that to make sure that they are part of this process of showing their clients support. We have been working with some of our clients on these campaigns. An example of that is we worked with the Standard Insurance on a new announcement they wanted to make and a campaign. They called it Park It Forward. And this was, again, earlier in the process of the pandemic. It allowed for their clients to park their vehicles and save the money. And also it did have an announcement attached to it, which showed that Standard Insurance is donating to the food banks and the communities that they serve. So this message went out to show their clients and the market that they are part of the solution, basically, and they are trying to really be there for their clients in a time of hardship. We have tried to do our part in the same process. We have launched a new program called Partners in Perseverance, and I'm going to let Paul talk to you more about that.
Yeah, so early on in the pandemic, we realized A, that we had a little bit of free time on our hands, and B, there were a lot of organizations that needed help. And there were a certain number of them that were really hit hard, particularly retail, but also a few not-for-profits, especially those that ran events like the Winnipeg Symphony or Royal Winnipeg Ballet. So we thought what we could do is, and we like to give a certain amount of our time back to the community at large. And so we put together a program that allowed people to submit or apply for our time time in certain cases. And so I think we're on client number 5. There's only so many we can help at a time, but the gist is there's an application on the page and people can apply for it. And those that are hit hardest are usually to the top of the list. So the first one we helped was the Winnipeg Symphony with a little bit of help, and then continued on with like Bueller Gallery, UN Luggage, Royal Winnipeg Ballet, and a couple others. So it was something that we thought important to do what we could to help the community at large with some of the time and services that we provide.
And most of these projects were very close to our hearts, and it was helpful to see that we are able to help our community. Okay, moving on. If you feel like the examples we shared with you may not be financially possible, or doesn't really, your operational finances does not allow you to go there and provide that, or even your time doesn't allow to do that, there's always another thing we can all do, and that really goes back to trying to answer a global need in our communications and our marketing components, and that's the need for feeling good. In the previous recession in 2008 and 9, there are many examples and articles that are showing that this recession was very similar to that one, but not thinking too hard about that part. A lot of feel-good campaigns were doing very good during that time, just because, again, they were trying to be part of the solution, and they were trying to answer to that need for feeling good, really. Harvard Business Review says feel-good content that alleviates anxiety and promotes positive messaging will go a long way to enhancing the brands these days. So however you feel like you can contribute in that world, of course, as I mentioned, social media could really help you build your brand around the messages that are showing that feel-good content. That's also an important thing that you can do. If you're still not sure what you can do and how you can move along the challenges of COVID-19, make sure to visit our website, this page, COVID-19 page. There's quite a few information in here that would help you know what your next steps would be. We also do offer 1-hour free consultations. We will sit down with you, hear your thoughts and concerns, and try to, recommend options for you to move along. And my final words, there is a lot of uncertainty in the overall economic environment and landscape, but we are seeing collectively in Winnipeg that there are some circumstances that are constructing opportunity for marketing success. We want to share that information with you as a positive note. And also, when it comes to marketing efforts, we always say everything you do should be centered around your customers and their needs, and your circumstances may be different from others. So, feel free to discuss those with someone that can help you move forward on those. 4 immediate steps for you, should you want to take them. You can email us for a copy of this webinar. I think we're also just sharing that to everyone who has registered. We can get in touch for a free one-on-one consultation with 6P. You can do it through myself or Paul or our website. And please feel free to nominate a business for our Partners in Perseverance. You can simply go to the website, the web page that's relevant to Partners in Perseverance. There is very short form. You can fill it out. And send your questions in the Q&A window right now, and we'll be happy to answer to them all.
Thank you, Fermir and Paul. Any questions? Feel free to enter them in the Q&A or the chat boxes, or we have been monitoring them in terms of any questions coming in. And so feel free to enter any questions that you have right now. We do have a little bit of time for a Q&A. Okay, well, if any questions do come up, you can feel free to contact Paul and Faramir directly. Like they said, we will be posting this for your information afterwards. So if any questions do come up, feel free to contact them. Thank you both for your tremendous presentation this afternoon. There's a lot of great material in here, a lot of great critical questions that our members can ask when they're looking at how they're marketing, not just right now, but over the next 6 months, likely in terms of this progressing. So thank you for sharing that with us and sharing your expertise. Thank you to our event sponsors, the Accurate Technology Group and Federated Insurance, for sponsoring our virtual housing forum. And thank you all for attending this afternoon session. We appreciate your participation. Our next and final session is being held tomorrow at 1 p.m. with Mal Smithson from MHBA presenting on Get It Right the First Time in terms of building science. So until then, thanks again. Stay safe, everyone, and have a great day.